Hello everyone and welcome back to our Shir and Dushu Bahalacha. We are holding on Reish Nun Ches Amud Beis on the top line in the Mechaber. We're in Siman Shin Tzadik Aleph and we're in the middle of Sif Aleph. So the Mechaber over here has been discussing the question of making an Erev in a city when you have Chatzeros and Mevuos in the city and you have Yidden and you have non-Jews as well. So now on the top line of Reish Nun Ches Amud Beis says the Mechaber, let's say you have in the city, you have two chatzerim, and there are two chatzerim that each have Yiddish households in those chatzerim. Let's say you had a city that was comprised of three chatzeros. So you have two chatzeros that have Yidden living in them, and now let's say you have two chatzeros of non-Jews. So you have two chatzeros of Yidden, so they aser on each other. Remember, if you have a mavui and you have two chatzeros opening up onto that mavui, so the two Yiddish chatzeros aser on each other, and they have to make a shetufe mavuos in order to be matir transferring something from a house in the chatzer through the chatzer out to the mavui. So over here in this city, you have two chatzeros of Yiddish households, and now you have other chatzeros of non-Jewish households. So if they want to be able to transfer, if the Yidden want to be able to move kalim from their houses into the mavuos, they have to make a shetufe mavuos, and they have to be maskir rishus from the non-Jews. Says the Mishnah Berurah Katan Yud. Ukishayesh shtei chatzeros ba'ir. Nira says the Mishnah Berurah. Da'afilu im kol chatzer haya b'mavui acher. Here the Mishnah Berurah says a very interesting thing. Let's say in this city you had multiple mavuos, right? The city is not comprised of just one mavui with chatzeros opening up onto that mavui. You might have multiple mavuos in the city. So let's say you had two different mavuos in the city, and in one mavui there's one chatzer of Yidden, and in the next mavui there's another chatzer of Yidden. Now you might look at this and you might say, okay, we look at the mavuos independently. So mavui A has a chatzer of Yidden and maybe three chatzerim of goyim. Chatzer B has one mavui of Yidden and two or three chatzerim of Einam Yehudim. You might say, all right, no problem. Neither one of these mavuos need a shituf, because each mavui only has one chatzer of Yidden. So since you don't have two chatzerim of Yidden that aser on each other, we don't need a shituf, and we don't have to do anything with the non-Jews. Says the Mishnah Berurah that that's not the case. Nira da'afilu im kol chatzer haya b'mavui acher. Says the Chavetz Chaim over here, even if each one of the Yiddish chatzeros open onto a separate mavui, lo nechshav ki yachid b'makom akum. We don't go ahead and say that this is a case where you have one chatzer of Yidden and then goyim. Why? Since we're talking about a city that's mukefes chayma, we're talking about a city that's surrounded by a wall. Nechshavim kol hamavoyos kemavoi echad. All of the multiple mavuos in this city are considered to be one mavui. So here we have a city that's mukefes chayma. We have a city that's surrounded by a wall. So really, midaraisa, the entire interior of this city is one rishos hayachid. So now, even if you have separate mavuos in the city, and each mavui only has one Yiddish chatzer, we view the entire city as being unified into one mavui because it's surrounded by a wall. And now, even if you have Yiddish chatzeros that open up onto separate mavuos, we look at it as if there's multiple chatzeros of Yidden, and since there are multiple chatzeros of Yidden, they aser on each other, and you're going to have to be maskir rishus from the non-Jews. Now, the only exception to this is, says the Chavetz Chaim, the only way that we'll look at the chatzeros of Yidden as being separate one from the other is if they're truly cut off one from the other with either a tzuras HaPesach or with Shnei Pasin. So, if you had one mavui in one part of the city that had a Yiddish chatzer opening onto it, but then the opening of that mavui was closed with a tzuras HaPesach or with two pas dalids, with two pasin of dalit tvachim on each side of the opening, so then we would say that this mavli is completely cut off from the rest of the city, and then we wouldn't merge this chutzner, this Yiddish chutzner that opens up onto this mavli with other Yiddish chatzerim that open up onto other mavuos. But if they're not cut off with tzuras haPesach or with shnei pasim, then we merge them. The kasher b'yarnu b'simin shin peivav sif peis b'hagah b'mishna Berurah l'kamam b'simin shin tzadik beis sivav. Now let's go weiter in the mechaber. Says the mechaber on the second line. So the mechaber just said, if you have a city that has at least two chatzeros of Yidden, so now these two chatzeros are going to aser on each other, so they need a shitufei mavuos. And if there are also non-Yiddish, if there are goyish chatzeros, you're going to have to be maskir rishus from those goyim. Says the mechaber, ve'ein maspik b'masha yiskar misar ha'ir. It's not sufficient to be maskir rishus from the Sarah ear, says the mechaber. You can't call up the governor or call up the mayor and give the mayor some money and say, I want to be maskir rishus from the non-Jewish chatzeros through you. That's the stringent shita of the mechaber. Let's take a look for the reason for this in Mishnah Berurah's Katan Yud Aleph. Vein maspik. Even if the non-Jewish houses that we're talking about actually belong to the Sar Ha'ir, and he has allowed the tenants, the non-Jewish tenants, to live in these houses, because the non-Jews are paying a tax. So in essence, even if there's a case where the houses that we're talking about actually belong to the Sar Ha'ir, and the Sar Ha'ir rents them out in return for tax money, still it doesn't work. You still cannot be maskir rishus from the Sar Ha'ir. Why? Vatam, Chavetz Chaim says the reason for the Shulchan Aruch's opinion is shaharei lo yachar l'salkon kol zman shel lo hamas. Over here we have a case where the Sar Ha'ir is renting out these units to the non-Jews, and as long as the non-Jews pay their tax and pay their rent, the Sar Ha'ir cannot just summarily dismiss them. He can't throw them out. So by what rishus does the Sar Ha'ir have in these homes so that you should be allowed to be maskir rishus from him? He doesn't have a tvisas habayis in the homes. We're not talking about a case over here where the Sar Ha'ir is storing anything in those homes, and he doesn't have the right to toss the tenants out on their heads as long as they're paying the rent. So by what right would you be able to be maskir rishus from the Sar Ha'ir? Therefore, says the mechaber, the opinion of the mechaber is you cannot be maskir from the Sar Ha'ir. Over there in Shin Pei Beis Sif Yud Ches, we said the only time you could be maskir rishus from an owner who's renting out a unit to a renter is either if the owner has the right to throw the renter out whenever he wants, or he has a tvisas habayis. Over here, we don't seem to have either one. Even if this Sar Ha'ir is very powerful, even if he's the one that upholds the law in this town, and he's the one that's appointed over the entire legal system, so the residents are kind of at his mercy, still, that doesn't give him a shlita over the apartments. He has no shlita over the homes, and therefore you cannot be maskir rishus from him. That's the opinion of the mechaber. Now let's go up into the words of the Ramah on the second line. Hagah, says the Ramah, v'yesh oimrim, there is another opinion that says the dafka le'inyan lahaitzi or lahachdis l'rishus ha'ena Yehudi, that the only time it's true that you cannot be maskir from the Sar Ha'ir is if you want to be maskir from the Sar Ha'ir, you want to be maskir rishus over the non-Jewish households, so that you should be able to transfer things from the non-Jewish households. I think the case that the Ramah is referring to over here is, let's say we have a case, it's really the case that the mechaber described before. Let's say you have, in this city, you have two Yiddish mavuos. So you have one mavui that has two Yiddish chatzeros opening onto it. You have another mavui that has two Yiddish chatzeros opening onto it. Now you have a mavui that has non-Jewish homes. Now you have a problem, or you know what? Let's make it simpler. You have one mavui, and this one mavui has two Yiddish chatzeros that open onto it, and one non-Jewish chatzer that opens onto it. So now, because there are two Yiddish chatzeros, the Yidden have to make a shetufei mavuos, and because there's a non-Jewish chatzer opening up onto the mavui, they also have to be masker rishus from the goyim. So they want to go to the Sarah Ir and they want to be masker from the Sarah Ir. And the Mechaber said that you cannot do that because the Sarah Ir has no shlita over the Yiddish households. Says the Ramah over here, no. The only time there's a problem of being masker rishus from the Sarah Ir, if you want to be masker rishus from the Sarah Ir, so that not only can you transfer something from one of the houses in one of the Yiddish chatzeros to the mavui, but you also want to be able to transfer, you want to be able to go into the non-Jewish mavui, into one of the non-Jewish houses, and you want to be able to transfer from the guy's house through the guy's chatzer into the mavui. So if you could really do a solid a schiras rishus, you would be allowed to do that. Says the Ramah over here, you cannot do that because the Mechaber is right. Since the Sarah Ir has no shlita on the non-Jewish house, you can't be masker rishus over the non-Jewish house from the Sarah Ir. Since you can't be masker rishus over the non-Jewish house, there's no way to get to incorporate the non-Jew's house and the non-Jew's chutzner into the shituf, so that you should be allowed to go into the non-Jew's house, take out a lawn chair, and bring it through his chutzner into the mavi on Shabbos. That Ramah agrees you cannot do that. So that's when you're limited and you cannot be masker rishus from the Sarah Ir. Aval letalto b'mavui. But if you want to be masker rishus from the Sarah Ir, so that you should be able to take things from the Yiddish houses through the Yiddish chatzeros into the mavui, yachal liskar min asar. For that you can be masker rishus from the Sarah Ir. Why? Shaharei derech hamavui hu shal hasar, because the public thoroughfare of the mavui, that definitely belongs to the Sarah Ir. That the Sarah Ir has shlita over. V'yachal l'salei kala enam Yehudim misham. Think about it for a minute. If the mavui, forget the non-Jew's house. The non-Jew is renting a house from the Sarah Ir, and the Sarah Ir has no shlita over that house. But the street, the Sarah Ir has complete shlita over. Now, what are the mechanics of a shetufei mavuos? The mechanics of a shetufei mavuos are, since we have a mavui that has two Yiddish chatzeros, so now the mavui is serving multiple chatzeros. Okay, so we make a shituf to merge the two Yiddish chatzeros into one, so that we should be able to look at the mavui as only serving one chatzer, one unified merged chatzer, instead of serving two chatzeros. Now our problem is that we also have a goyish mavui. What are we going to do about the goyish mavui? Normally we would be masker rishus and we would merge it together with the two Yiddish chatzeros. But now we have a problem because we can't be masker rishus from the Sarah Ir. And for whatever reason, we also don't want to be masker rishus from the individual homeowners in that chatzer. So we want to go to the Sarah Ir, but we can't go to the Sarah Ir because the Sarah Ir has no shlita over the non-Jewish homes. But, says the Ramah, there's another way out. The other way out is realize that the Sarah Ir controls the mavui. He controls the street. Now, because he controls the street, while he doesn't control the non-Jew's house, what he can do is he could close the street. So what does that mean? The non-Jew has the power to close the opening of the mavui where the mavui opens up onto the non-Jewish chutzner. So you know what the Sarah Ir has the power to do? He has the power to cut the non-Jewish chutzner off of the mavui. Since the Sarah Ir has that level of power, that gives us the right to be masker rishus from the Sarah Ir as far as our ability to make a shetufei mavuos. Now, what seems to come out from this machlokes of the Mechaber and the Ramah, and the way the Mishnah Berurah explains it, I think I'm right, I hope I'm right, what seems to come out over here is as follows. Let's say you have a chutzner, our traditional case of the bungalow colony. So we have the colony with the 20 units. And let's say 19 of them are Yidden, and one of them is a goy. And the goy is a tough guy by the name of Tony, and you can't be masker rishus from Tony. So you want to go ahead and you want to be masker rishus from the Sarah Ir. That you can't do, because to be masker rishus from the Sarah Ir, Even the Ramah agrees that the Sarah Ir has no shlita over Tony's house. So if the Sarah Ir has no shlita over Tony's house, you can't be maskir rishus from the Sarah Ir over Tony's house. Now, to make it a Ruvek Hatzeros, you need to be maskir rishus over the bias, and that the Sarah Ir cannot do. However, what the Ramah is talking about here is in the context of a mavui. In the context of a mavui, the mechanics are different. In the context of a mavui, you don't need to be maskir rishus from the Sarah Ir over the house of the non-Jew. What you need to do is to be maskir a rishus that prevents us at looking at the mavui as serving multiple chatzeros. Now, if the Sarah Ir has the ability to cut the non-Jewish chatzer off of the mavui, then we could be maskir rishus from him. Now, I'm talking all of this through the eyes of the Mechaber and the Ramah. In the context of halakha l'maisa, in our days, being maskir rishus from the Sarah Ir, it's a little bit different. We have to look at each locale in each country, what level of power the Sarah Ir has. I know that by us, the police, let's say, have a tremendous amount of power. If there's an active crime scene going on a street, so the police could come down without a warrant, without anything. They could tell you got to stay in your house. They could tell somebody else that they can't go into their house because they can't go onto the block. They could close the street. They could do a lot. So there seems to be a very high level of power to the Sarah Ir, at least here in the United States. The police, and if it's the police, so then it's the mayor, because the mayor ultimately controls the police, do have a tremendous amount of power. There's also eminent domain. There's also all sorts of levels of power that the government ultimately does have. But in any case, that is the words of the Ramah. So just to read the Ramah again, that's when you're limited. Let's see the Mishnah Berurah is cutting Yud Beis. We follow this Ramah. What does it mean when the Ramah says that if you want to be maskir rishus from the Sarah Ir, so that you should be able to be metaltal b'mavui, that the Ramah says you can do? What the Ramah means when he says to be metaltal b'mavui is lahoitzi mibata Yisrael lahachtis lahem. You want to be maskir rishus from the Sarah Ir, so that you should be able to move a lawn chair from one of the Yiddish chatzeros in the mavui through the Chatzar to the Mavui. For that, you can be maskir rishus from the Sarah Ir. Ois cut Yudalid, Sharei Derech HaMavui Hu Shal Asar, because the public thoroughfare of the Mavui belongs to the Sarah Ir. Ritzaino Loimar, Shamastama Yesh Lo Rishus LaHasar Ala Derech, the Sarah Ir has power over the public thoroughfare, L'Shanoisa, to move it, and to make all the balabatim go in a different way. So in that case, he has control ultimately over who has access to the mavui and who does not. So he could cut the non-Jewish mavui off, the non-Jewish chatzar off of the mavui. Now let's go back into the words of the Mechaber, the fourth line down. Even the Mechaber. When does the Mechaber say that you cannot be maskir rishus from the Sarah Ir? Besar she'ein abatim shaloi. By a Sarah Ir that doesn't truly have control over the houses, v'gam ein lo rishus lehistamish b'batei b'nei Ir klal, and he doesn't have any power to use those homes. Afilu b'shas milchama, even during a time of war. But if it's talking about a governmental structure where everything that happens in the city is controlled by the Sarah Ir, or by his minister, then if you rent from the Sarah Ir, it certainly works, or even from a low-level employee of the Sarah Ir, because he has the power to put people into your house, or his weaponry. Basically, what the Mechaber is saying over here is, when do I say that you can't be maskir rishus from the Sarah Ir? That's when the Sarah Ir is very limited in his power. When the Sarah Ir can't throw a guy out, and he can't use the house, so then by virtue of what should you be able to be maskir rishus from the Sarah Ir? But if the Sarah Ir is powerful, if the Sarah Ir could move people into your house, if the Sarah Ir could move weapons into your house, so, for example, if the Secret Service has the right when the president is coming to town, and if the president is going down your block, If the Secret Service could come into your house and say, excuse me, we need to post a lookout in your window, and we have to position somebody on your roof, and if they have that power, so that means that they can use your house. Ultimately, they have the legal ability to use your house. So then they have a tremendous amount of power, and then you can be maskir rishus from the Sarah ear. Says the Mishnah Berurah in Ois Cotton Tesvav, Afilu b'shas Melchama, if the Sarah ear doesn't even have the power to take control of the homes, even during a time of war, rather the Sarah ear has to go through a whole bureaucracy, and he doesn't really have that power. But if he does, then Ois Cotton Tezayin Mahania. I know Afilu in Yilahitzi Lachlis Labatei Akum. If the Sarah ear has that level of power, then you could be maskir from him, and you could even transfer from the non-Jewish houses, because ultimately you bought them, you rented them, so to speak, from the Sarah ear. Yod Zayin b'shas Melchama ayin b'biur halacha. There's a very interesting biur halacha over here. Dibra maskil shaloi midaitam. The Chavetz Chaim is bothered. Why does it help if the Sarah ear has the power to take control of a house b'shas Melchama? Says the biur halacha here, Ayin b'chacham tzvi siman vav shenes kasha bazeh. The chacham tzvi finds this very difficult to understand. The maimahani b'mashi yesh lo rishus laniach kelim b'shas melchama. How does it help that the Sarah ear has the right to put his machine guns in your house during a shas melchama? How does that give him enough power that now you should be able to be maskir rishus from him? Harei atal kol ponim ein shas melchama. Right now on Shabbos Parshas Re'eh, it's not shas melchama. So what do I care that the Sarah ear has that level of power? What is the Shas Melchama? Is it a Shas Melchama now? Baruch Hashem not. So then the Sarah ear doesn't have that power. So how can I be maskir rishus from him? Right now he has no power. So how can I be maskir rishus from him? And what the Chacham Tzvi says is, the Mayri Besar, the Mechaber over here is talking about a Sar, Shahayachilis Biyadai, who has the power, we're talking about a Sar who could start a war whenever he wants. And the Bnei Medina are powerless to stop him. So if we're talking about a Sar who could go start a war with the neighboring country whenever he wants, so that means that he has the power now, because he can make a war now. Okay, now let's go back into the Mishnah Berurah. If the Sarah ear has the power to put people in the homes or weaponry in the homes without the knowledge or the agreement of the homeowners, based on this, says the Chavetz Chaim, you would be allowed to be maskir rishus even from an appointee of the king. Because the king certainly has the ability to place people or weaponry or other items in the home without the knowledge of the people, and he has that right. It's a legal right that he has. So then even the low-level employees of the king, they're like employees or seasonal employees of the king, because they all stand in the place of the king. The Nirali, says the Chavetz Chaim, Dafka me'hamamuna al zeh. We're only talking about the mamuna that has authority in this arena. Like the police. The police are the ones that have authority in these areas. They're the ones that can take over the rishus over a house. They're the ones that can lock you out of your house or close down a street. Even from low-level people of this nature. Because the people who have this authority also have the authority to hire underlings to work for them. But stame, a private in the army who has no authority to do anything, even a senior person, if he has no authority in this area, if this is not his department, so it could be that he's a civil service employee, he has a U.S. government license plate, but if he works for a department of the government that has absolutely nothing to do with having any shlita over a household, having any authority, you can't say that just because he happens to be a governmental employee, now you can be maskir rishus from him. It doesn't work that way. Let's see if we could push through to finish this siman. Sif Beis, the bottom line of the Mechaber. Yisraelim adarim b'chatzer yichidi be'ir shel einam Yehudim shehi mukefes chayma. Let's say we have over here a city that's surrounded by a wall. We have an ir mukefes chayma. Now this city might have a lot of chatzeres in it. Maybe this city has 20 chatzeres in it. Maybe it has 15 mavuos in it. I don't know, it's a big city. But there's a one chatzer of Yidden. So now, let's analyze this case for a moment. As far as what we colloquially call an eruv, in other words, the strings, the lechis, and the kairas, whatever we need to make this city a Rishus HaYachid, this city is already a Rishus HaYachid. It's surrounded by a wall. So if there's a mavui inside this city, this mavui does not need a lechi or a kaira. This mavui does not need any kind of tikkun. We don't need what we would call an eruv, because the city is already mukefes chayma. What do they need in order to be able to transfer from their houses to their chutzner? They need an eruv chatzeres. So in this city you have one Yiddish chutzner. If they want to be able to carry throughout their chutzner, they want to be able to take lawn chairs out of their house, take it into the chutzner, carry it in the chutzner, whatever they want to do. What do they need? They need an eruv chatzeres. So fine, right now they have a very simple thing. All they have to do is make it a eruv chatzeres. They don't have to make a shetufei mavuos because there's only one Yiddish chatzer. You don't have multiple Yiddish chatzerim. And even though you have goyish chatzerim, a goy is not a problem when you only have one Yid. And over here you only have one Yiddish chatzer. The one Yiddish chatzer might have 20 Yidden living in it and 20 units, but it's one Yiddish chatzer. So one Yiddish chatzer in a mavui doesn't have to make a shituf even if there are 20 other non-Jewish chatzeris. So right now this is very simple. So Yisraelim adarim b'chatzer yichidi, you have a bunch of Yidden living in one chatzer alone, be'ir shel einam Yehudim, in a non-Jewish city, shehi mukefes chayma, which is surrounded by a wall. Va'avru Yehudim acherim derech sham b'Shabbos, and now some Yidden came to town to visit. V'nis achsenu b'chatzer acheres, and they became guests in another chatzer. So until now, all you had in this city was one Yiddish chatzer. Now you have one Yiddish chatzer of Yidden that live there, and now in another chatzer in the town, opening up onto one in the mavuos, doesn't matter which mavui, because since it's an ir mukefes chayma, the Mishnah Berurah already said on the previous page that all of the mavuos are considered one. So until now you only had one Yiddish chatzer. But now for this Shabbos, Yidden came as guests to another chutzner, so now you have Yidden in another chutzner. Now you might think that the Yidden have to make a shetufei mavuos, and they have to be maskir rishus from the goyim. Says the Mechaber, no. Einam oisrim aleihim. These guests that came to another chutzner do not aser on the Yidden that live in the city. The oireach einay oiser, because guests do not aser. Umutarim letaltal b'chol ir. And you remain mutter to carry throughout the city. Let's see the Mishnah Berurah over here. On the bottom of Reish Nun Ches Amud Beis, Ice Cut and Yud Tes. Yisraelim. Now we go to the next page. Yisraelim Adarim, Pirush. What does this mean? Af shekama Yisraelim Darim b'chatzer. Even though you might have in this Yiddish chatzer, you might have 20 units. It remains mutter for them to transfer things from their houses through their chutzner into the mavuos of the city, because when it comes to the question of making a shituf, all 20 units that are in the chutzner are considered one, as long as they made an eruv chatzeros. So, over here, we basically have one entity. The 20 units in the one Yiddish chutzner made an eruv chatzeros, so they became one. So now, in the context of looking at the mavui, there's one Yiddish chutzner opening up onto the mavui. You don't need a shituf. Even though there's 20 Yiddish households, but it's one chutzner. We're talking about a city that's surrounded by a wall. By virtue of this wall, you don't need any other tikkun on any of the mavuos in the city. You don't need a lechi, you don't need a kaira, you don't need anything. The same halacha that the Mechaber says here would hold true if the city was not surrounded by a wall, if you made lechis and kairas, whatever it is that the individual mavuos might need. Now, what happened on Shabbos? Now Yiddish guests came and they're staying in another chutzner. Ois cotton chaf aleph in isachsenu b'chutzner acheres, v'hu adin shesharch din zeh im isachsen b'oisei chutzner sheYisrael darshar v'gam akum darsham u'le'inyan u'tiltul b'oisei chutzner atzma. The same halacha actually applies. The Mechaber is saying in the context of Shetufei Mavuos. The same halacha really applies in the context of Eruvei Chatzeros. Let's say you had one Yiddish chutzner with 20 residents in them, and the 20 residents all joined in the Eruvei Chatzeros. And now on Shabbos, 5 Yidden came, and they're guests in the chutzner. Those 5 Yiddish guests don't aser on the 20 Yidden that made the Eruvei Chatzeros. They're only guests. So the Chavetz Chaim is just pointing out that this halacha applies in the context of Eruvei Chatzeros, and it also applies in the context of Shetufei Mavuos. If you had one Yiddish chutzner, and now Yidden came to another chutzner, they don't aser on the Yiddish chutzner because they're only guests. The mutarim shteyam af b'li erev v'b'li schiras rishos menachem ha'itayma. What the Mechaber means to say is, even though we hold that if 2 Yidden live in a city, and there's also a non-Jew adar be'ir in the city, even though we've said that when you have multiple Yidden and you have Goyim, so now, besides the Erev that the Yidden need, you also have to be maskir rishus from the Goyim. Over here, where all of the Yiddish residents of the city merged into one by making it a Eruvei Chatzeros, and now the other Yidden coming to the other Chatzar are only guests. They are bottle. They're guests to the residents, to the Yiddish full-time residents. So there's only one Yiddish entity. Even the guests are allowed to transfer from the homes out to the Chatzeros and the Mavui. The Magen Avraham argues on this. The Magen Avraham holds that even though the residents of the city remain mutter to carry, but the guests who came, the permanent residents aser on the guests. And the guests are not allowed to take things out of their houses to the city. But we pass like the Shulchan Aruch, that even the guests are mutter, in the context of Eruvei Chatzeros. Certainly in the chutzner where the Yiddish guests are staying, certainly over there they don't aser. The gam came mehaitaima for the same reason. Because the guests are bottled to the permanent residents. They can't aser on anybody because they're only guests. And as guests, they are always bottled to the hosts. The Chavetz Chaim says that it would appear that this is only true when the city is mukefes chayma, when the whole city becomes one chatzer. And you should know, this concept that a guest does not aser on the permanent residence, there is an opinion, this is the opinion of the Magen Avraham, that this is only true when these are guests that don't often come there. But if these are guests that often come here, like we have by traveling salesmen, who often come to the city, they are treated as a resident, and they aser on the other residents as soon as they show up. However, there are others who are mekel, and that would seem to be including the Ramah, says the Sharet Zion, that an Ereach doesn't aser until 30 days, even if he often comes to that city. Okay, we'll stop over here for today. So Baruch Hashem, we are holding now on Reish Tes Amud Aleph at the beginning of Siman Shin Tzadik Beis. Be well.